in the air.
Welcome to another episode of the JoeIrish Podcast with Sherin. This is episode 17. And then our guest, this week, and I'm going to introduce is my big brother, believe it or not. I'm my brother on, and the reason why we're David Dowling, professor, is it professor?
Yeah, I'm a professor of law.
And Mormon.
And a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The LSD.
LDS,
okay.
Yeah, LSD is what you do, and I do LDS. Yes. See, that's already kind of the difference between us.
Yeah, so this is why when people are wondering why I have my brother on. It's like, what the fuck are you gonna put? No, because
totally
when we said this before, anytime we mentioned, like, I was like, you're talking about your family or whatever. I said, I know my brother, like, lives in California, and he's a Mormon, and he's a professor, and he travels the world
teaching.
Proud of you. Fucking teaching. No, but it's something that you don't get to say. Do you know what I mean? And then I have three sisters. I was going to say, three unmarried, but they're married.
They are actually married, yeah. Somebody was willing to marry them. Kind of amazing. Sometimes I'm amazed when I think about that too. I was amazed somebody was willing to marry you, but that's another topic for another day.
We won't go down that fucking road.
Let's go there.
I'm happy.
Let's make this podcast about Joe and his life.
No, this is a happy podcast.
Okay.
We're keeping it happy.
All right.
So the reason, as I said, the reason why we've got me brother on is because. So give us your full title of your.
I'm a mediator, and then I'm also...
What's a mediator?
So I'm a mediator. What it is that... So I went to... So I guess I should back up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, because the thing is I'm going to talk, and people are going to think, he's not Joe's brother, because listen to how he speaks. And I sounded like this before I ever... So I was...
He used to speak properly like what I do.
I lived in Ballymun till I was 7, and then moved to Tala when I was 7,
Correct.
and then grew up, went to KCS and all that kind of stuff.
Deadly.
Dropped out of secondary school at 16. At 18, went and moved out of the house, put myself back into secondary school to do me leaving. And then when I was in my 20s, I lived in England. So at 20, I joined the church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But then served a mission for the church, moved to England, and then eventually moved to California. And so when I went to California, I did a degree in journalism. Then I got a doctorate of law. And then I got a master's in conflict and dispute resolution. So what it is that lawyers or solicitors come to me, or parties can come to me, and they're on the track to go see a judge, but the court will refer them to me to mediate and resolve their disputes. So I do family and divorce cases. I'll do probate, so trust and estate cases.
And it's a cheaper. I'm not saying it's a cheaper route.
It is actually a faster, quicker, cheaper route.
Rather than go all the way to court.
So it can take years. So in the US right now,
Yeah.
so I'm living in California. My wife's from California. So the court system there, it'll take. So even for a divorce, it can take up to 4 years.
Right.
So people will come to me, and I can speed up that process, and it'll cost them a lot less. And then with the lawyers, the solicitors, they'll hire me, and I'll do like a day of mediating with them to help bring them to resolution.
So you go with the both parties and their lawyers.
Both parties and their lawyers.
So
and so I'll meet with them. I do
you
commercial
sit in the
mediation,
middle,
and I
That'd
go
be
back and
really
forth
exciting.
between them.
I'd love that.
It's fantastic.
It
It's
is.
so much fun.
Yeah.
It is honestly like, so I teach this. I teach mediation and negotiation skills. So I teach people. I teach lawyers. I teach lawyers and judges how to mediate and
What
resolve
happened to
conflict
you?
and disputes.
Isn't that?
What happened to you?
Like here, listen, like he teaches fucking law, and I tell dick jokes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm the
We
most,
have very different
I
audiences.
am the most popular in the. I'm the favourite.
He is the favourite child.
Is he?
Oh yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Well,
just
no,
the
it's rapid,
favourite.
isn't
No,
it?
Yeah.
that's not nice.
sense.
Even
Yeah.
though I'm the favourite of mine
True.
as well.
It is
I
true.
flipped the shit out of that.
I was only saying that to Jay the other day. I'm the favourite.
So no, but even going back on my because we
Yeah.
go back into it, and because I want it, and I never really. Why did you join the Mormons?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I grew up Catholic, right?
Just woke up one Mormon.
And I was like, "Woo!" There you go. That's a bad
No,
joke,
he
Joe.
didn't
Like
say that.
you're
He
better than
didn't
that.
just say
Just
that.
woke
Like
up
you are
one
better than that.
I'm going to be picking
that
up your
was-
brother tonight.
Talk about a
It's
cheap
me
joke.
and him
Okay,
against you.
so
Let's go.
I grew up Catholic, made my communion, confirmation, all the things, and I had a faith system. I think growing up here in Ireland, you have to. I prayed and things like that, but I didn't feel a connection to the church, like going to mass and stuff like that. So I had this belief system, and I got a job in town when I was 20. I was working in actually St. Anne's Street at the Subway sandwiches,
Nice.
and these American missionaries would come in every day. Hi there, how are you? The whole thing, and
the
so we would make
badges
with the
and the
badges,
shorts and
and we
all
would
that,
make fun
yeah.
of them. So myself and the other kids that I worked with, they'd come in and we'd be like, hey, how's it going? And so we would mock them. And a girl that I was working with, a dear friend of mine, Gillian, she started kind of going along and listening to what they were sharing. And I was like, it seems like maybe I don't know what you're getting into. So I went along with her. And I kind of developed a likeness for them. I thought they were just really kind people and just nice kids and whatever else. Kids, I was 20, the same age as them. And so they said to me, look, would you like to hear about our religion, about who we are? That's what the whole point is. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to join or anything else, but I'll sit because I'll have respect for their religion. Have respect. I think that's one of the things that you can do is have respect for other people's belief system. So I sat with them, and it was the weirdest thing because they would share things and I would go, oh, that clicks with my view of God.
Right.
That clicks with my view of how religion should be or community should be. And it was the weirdest thing because I had very personalistic views of religion and church, and they just kind of checked all the boxes. And so then I did one day, I was at work and I just had this overwhelming sense that this is what I need to do. And, I always say there's a film that Gwyneth Paltrow, my wife always mocks how I say that, right? But Gwyneth Paltrow, because the TH is from Dublin, Sliding Doors, right? So Sliding Doors, there's a film that she made back in the day.
Really good.
She bumps her head and her life goes into two.
That's right.
And I feel that's what happened with my life is I went one way and my life could have gone a very different way.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I see how my life could have been, and I look at how it is. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm very, very fortunate and very blessed.
How do you think it could have been?
I grew up in Tala.
Well, I can nearly put my finger on it because I'm going to let you explain, which is great because him and Willa grew up next door at the same age.
No way.
Yeah, next door.
We're basically
Willa,
the same age.
Same age. And
grew
even
up
when
in the flats together.
When me and Willa and Eric went over to Boston to do a gig, he flew up from California. And Willa knows him. We know us. And so they could say that's exact same. They were the same little age, same age, same kids in Ballymun, same flats next door to each other. And it depends on where you go and whatever. And Willa went through his.
Do you think you would have went through
I don't know. I think the thing is that growing up as I did, as I said, I left school at 16. And so the options for me were very limited, and, I remember when I was in 5th class, right? So I'm 5th class at Knockmore, at the primary school there in Knockmore. And the teacher saying to us, what do you want to be when you grow up? One of those moments, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I stood up and I said, I wanted to be a lawyer, a solicitor.
Wow.
And the teacher, Mr. Lally, laughed at me.
Mr. Lally,
he laughed at me.
He was a prick.
Do you know why he laughed
at
me?
If you're laughing now, Lally.
No. But here's the thing, is he laughed at me because that was never going to be for me, right? My dad left school at 12. My mother left school at 14. And my community, we all dropped out of school and we all got jobs and we all worked on building sites. And at 16, I worked at the Joby, cleaning in glasses, then got jobs. And that's who I was. But I think that, making then very serious choices, moving out at 18 and then put myself back in school. It's not that I did brilliantly when I went back to do my leaving, but I just knew that I needed to go on a different path. So then when I got to the US, the options were very different for me there because I think, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I do think there's a class system here. And when you go into somewhere and you're like, I'm from Jobstown, people are like,
100%. We all know that.
And that's the way it was. Whereas I go to California, get over there, and I'm like, I'm from Ireland, and people are like, oh my gosh,
lovely. They
open the doors.
They
open the doors for you. They want to work with you. There's a lot of opportunities. And so, I was able to go to university, go to law school, and opportunities, doors just opened for me
so
in ways that I couldn't
in your
imagine.
20s when you went to California?
So I got married at 26. I met my wife in London, but she's from California. So and she's also a member of the church. She grew up in it. And so at 26, we met, got married. She moved to London for a few months, and then we decided to move to California. So at 27, right around my 27th
you started
birthday,
going back to education.
I went to California as an illegal immigrant.
Right.
Yup.
Nice.
There you go, Irish. Who isn't? But even though I was married to a sister,
in California would be a lot better in the US, one I'd imagine.
So we went over, and then I had to get my status adjusted, get my green card, and then I started school. So I didn't start university till I was 28.
It was that we remember all this slagging. I'm not slagging at home, but
no,
he's in school.
Yeah, at 28,
he's in.
Everybody
sitting there doing crazy. He's in fucking school. He's 30.
So Sherin, they all laughed at me. It was are you
course.
bleeding kidding me? You're in school. And so I did my degree And then I said, I'm going to law school, which is a doctorate. And I was
Brilliant.
like, get out of it. You're going to be
Get
in school
over
till you're
it.
75.
Get over you.
And that's honestly how it was. Like, everybody was like...
And do you know what, Dave? Just for the viewers, I think it is important. A lot of people do think about emigrating out of Ireland right now because there's not much opportunity. Being a bit older now than you were then, is it still the same if somebody in their late 20s wanted to jump into California and just start this whole degree in law? Is it possible?
I think it is. And I think, look, the thing in the US, there are a lot of issues like we have here. But I think that we have a position of privilege being Irish. Over there, they love the Irish. Like, they absolutely love the Irish. And they, like I said, they will open up doors for you.
You got stopped with a copper.
So I got pulled over one time for speeding, right? And I'm speeding along, and your man comes up, and he comes up next to the window, and I'm taking out my license. And in certain situations, what happened, because I sound pretty mid-Atlantic is what I'd say. You can't place me like US or Ireland. But when I'm in certain situations, all of a sudden I'm like, Janie Mac, I sound like I'm from the back end of a bog, right? And so your man pulls me over and he's like, I'm like, oh, was I speeding? I'm so sorry. And
sorry about that, sir.
The name's Sullivan, right? On the badge, Sullivan. And he goes, oh my gosh, are you Irish? I was like, I am indeed now. And looking at you, Sullivan yourself. I was like, honestly, like, and you go into all the worst that, how is it going? So, Janie Mac. And he's like, he goes, you know what? I'm Irish too. I was like, no, I wouldn't have. I get it. I can see it from the look of you. You look like you're Irish. And then he was like, now just slow down and just let me off. Like, no ticket or anything. Like, oh yeah, I use it.
You have a free pass for being Irish. You should get the Irish flag on your car.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Definitely. And would you say, so you would, opportunity is definitely there and you get away with speeding?
Don't hold me to the speeding thing. Like, I don't want Sherin, I don't want you coming over and you're like, I got caught speeding and I got a bleeding ticket, David Dowling, and then making me pay it because I won't pay it for you. But I do think that there's a certain level of, I'd call it privilege that we have being Irish over there because of how people view our culture and our history and everything else.
And the banter.
They
love the crack.
They just see us as friendly.
I went to Canada one year it was around St. Patrick's Day. And the posters around Canada and the pubs and everything was like, come celebrate the friendliest day of the year. And I loved that. Like, that's what they saw St. Paddy's Days as like the friendliest day of the year.
I think the Irish are viewed like that in many places in the world.
All over the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I know I'm just jumping in ahead.
Go on. Ask away.
So, and I know you mentioned you're Mormon.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And am I right in thinking that these are the guys that knock at the door with the little handbooks?
In 2x2, yeah. And so I actually was one of those. I served a mission in England. So backpack, little white shirt tie, the black name tags. So we go out in pairs. Elder Dowling. So elder is like your title. And I have 4 kids. So I have 4 kids, and my daughter has served a mission in Italy, and my son just got home from Paraguay.
So just explain for this. So you do a 2-year mission. When you get to a certain age, you go 18. Off on mission, and your mission is to do what? Because we have missioners in a Catholic church too. We have our priests and nuns go into different parts of the country to get people into the religion.
So we do service projects. Right. So we go out. So like I went to England, and a lot of people are going to think like, why are you going to England to do a mission? But I went out like one day. I was on a street in Portsmouth, and this woman came by, and our message is to share about our church and our faith and our belief. She came up to me, and I said to her, "Can you talk?" And she said, "I don't have time." And her kids had been taken out of the home; they'd been put in care, and she's like, "I need to go home. I need to get my house ready." And we said, how can we help? And we turned up at her house the next day and painted like bathroom walls, kitchen walls, everything. We never once talked about God or Jesus.
I love
but we went in and just did something to lift her up and help her get ready for her kids to come back. Because now she hopefully always has a positive view of who we are and what we do. And I've heard that time and time again where people have said, you know what, they're so nice, these young lads and young girls, that I brought them in and they were just nice. And I didn't ever want to join the church or be converted, but they were just kind and they helped her. They performed an act of service. So like my son that went to Paraguay, that's what he like, that was wild.
Because I know you have 4 kids. So
I have 4. So my 2 youngest haven't left yet. So my daughter is Ellie. She went to Italy. My son Perry went to Paraguay. And then Asher is 7. Well, he just turned 18. He'll go next year.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is that you don't get to pick or choose where you go.
The
you
church
submit.
sends them
The church looks at you, and you can go anywhere in the world. So you could go from California to Utah or New Mexico or something like that, or Paraguay or Africa.
So it really is a mission.
It is a mission.
It's a given mission.
Yeah. So you apply and submit, and we pay, like the families and the kids pay for it themselves.
Right. Okay.
So the church doesn't pay for it. So the kids pay to go out.
Accommodation, a whole lot to live over
2 years, and you get up at 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and you have to be in bed by 10:30 at night. And between the hours of 9:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, you're out serving.
Just passing the board of
I know, as I had said earlier on, I'm not practicing anything. I have faith, and I don't know if I will ever find.
Being on time.
No.
Says Joe. I'm sitting in the parking lot out there for 20 minutes waiting for this. He's like, the head and him.
Hang on, right? He's telling me today, 6. I'm like, Joe, I know. Okay. Sherin, 6 o'clock, yeah? Yeah, no bother, Joe. If 10 past or something, he's like, where are you now? I'm going to be there at 6. I'll be there at 5:45, so right, grand. Coming up the way, and I'm like, right, oh, fuck, it's 6:05. Yeah. Coming in, and then he goes, I rings him, Jody, open the gate. I'm just behind you there.
No. And here's the thing. He told me 5:45. So I pull up at 5:42 out at this gate out there, and I'm like, hey, Joe, can you come open the gate? Oh, I'm on my way. 15 minutes. 10 minutes. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
I didn't even know what time it was.
25 minutes.
15 minutes. Do you know what time it is?
Do you like the way we mimic you? I'm kind of like,
what are you doing?
And he's like,
that's not the bleeding way I talk. Is that the way I talk?
Sorry. I should have my baseball cap on to hide my receding hairline.
No, that's a rapper hairline. What are you talking about? Look at that. Jamie looks steady, doesn't it?
4 trips to Turkey and he's still working on it.
That's all right.
This is all natural.
Yeah, well, listen.
But going back to the question. So my dad was a Muslim.
Yes.
But before he growing up when we were younger, he smoked hashish, played the games, cards, poker, all that, right? Yeah. But as life went on, he became, because he's originally from Egypt, he came back to his religion, and he became a very strong Muslim. Yeah. And it was his mission to have us Muslims. Unfortunately, we didn't. We were Muslim born, probably still are. I never changed my religion. On my birth certificate says Muslim. But never practiced it as much as he did, but I do have my beliefs and stuff. Anyway, I wanted to ask, I know he was that was his life. Yeah. It was nothing would change that. And not that anyone tried, just knew. Nothing's going to change that. Mormon is the same, isn't it?
So it tends to be much more of a church where you're much more involved and engaged. So we have what we call callings, right? So every person has so our bishop is a volunteer assignment. Right. So they could come along and say, Joe, we want you to be the bishop of this congregation, we call it a ward, and you'll serve in that calling or work in that calling for 4 to 6 years, and you do that around your full-time job and everything else. It's not paid, it's voluntary. Really? So like right now, I teach a morning class, so I get up at 6, and at 10 to 7, I go over and teach a class of about 25 teenagers, 16, 17-year-olds. So I teach them faith.
From the Bible?
From the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And I teach them
what's the difference?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Mormons, you Christians?
Yeah, Christian. Yeah, we believe in Jesus Christ. So the
church
is
Muslims.
called... So the church
is a prophet.
So
they believe Jesus is a prophet.
They believe that Jesus is a prophet. Right, so if you look at... I took a class on world religions. But if you look at Islam, right, and Christianity and Judaism, right, if you go back to the first few books of the Old Testament, we all follow that up until until a certain point, and then we all kind of move off in our separate directions. So we believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Okay. In Islam, they believe that he was a prophet, he's a good man. Right. In Judaism, so everybody has their different views, but if you go back to those
people
early...
were really here, but that we just make our own story then about them. Yeah.
So we are very dedicated, we practice. So from my wife and I, we go to church every single Sunday, our kids. And I'll say this, Sherin, to your point about your dad, as a parent, as a dad, I want my kids to engage in the things that I think are important and can help them. Yeah. Am I perfect? I am far from perfect. I make mistakes every day. But I've told all of my kids I love them, and they'll always have a seat at our table and a bed in our house, no matter what choices they make, no matter who they are, because I think that they have to figure this out for themselves. When I changed my religion, it really hurt my mother. It really made her sad. It did. It made her sad because she was like, why are you choosing this instead of, And so I know that caused her a lot of hurt. Yeah. But right now, because of how I've lived in this religion, she feels, I think, sometimes more of a connection to Mormonism than even Catholicism. Right. She's had more. So as each of my children have been baptized, we get baptized at the age of 8. My mother has flown. She's in a wheelchair, flown from Ireland to California to be
It's
there.
lovely.
so
It's lovely ceremony.
It's beautiful. Like
we've
that.
been over.
They've all come over.
We flew over with David, and it's
to support my kids.
There's a
in
new
those
church.
moments.
Isn't that
We go to
lovely?
the christening, the baptism, and you're like, there's a new church that they're opening in Mexico. We drove to Mexico,
the
didn't we?
temple in Mexico.
We went
brought
to
them down
Tijuana.
there.
It must feel
as a family,
really good to
family
have that
brother.
support.
Yeah, no, of course.
It
yeah,
is.
whatever.
Amazing.
Look, here's the thing. I know that over the years, it's odd for them, right? I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke anything like that, right? And I know that I know that there are plenty of moments where it feels, because part of it is that it feels like I'm moving away from some of my Irish culture, because it's not that Irish culture is drinking and smoking, but there are certain pieces of the Irish culture that it feels like I don't engage in as much in the same way. And I know for like Joe and some of my sisters, it's like, what's he doing, now, kind of thing.
What's he doing his spare time? Look at that cracking open cans of tenants. What's that bleeding headbanger doing? Loser. One person. He's over there.
No, he's
living in a big house with a
amazing.
swimming pool.
Let's not get into Joe and his cracking of cans. You know what I mean? Let's not go down that path.
I'm joking.
But
Obviously.
no, and the thing is that I'm so grateful because they are very supportive.
Yeah, that's
and
lovely.
like with my kids, when my kids come home, they are so loving and so supportive. And I think what makes a big difference is like my wife is an amazing person, and they all love her, and she's
so
love
good,
this.
Yeah, yes, I'm really, and then we go over there, and it's all the homely thing about it is because we wouldn't be not saying it used to be. It's when they all come over, all his family, his wife's family, all get together, and they're all cooking, and it's a big all around, and it's not all. They don't there's no Bible bashing at all for any split second.
Never once when they come over do we bring any of it up. Like we live our lives.
And we're curious too as well, obviously.
They'll ask questions.
We'll go to the church. We go to the church.
And they come to church. But when we have food, when we sit down for a family dinner, we'll say a prayer before we bless the food. But that's just natural to us. Like we'll say, and Joe and everybody will sit. So they'll sit around and say the prayer with us. But at no point does anybody approach anybody in the family and say, "Would you like a book of Mormon?" There's none of that happening.
Can I ask, because I don't know much about the Mormon religion, so I know in Islam a lot. Look, I'm not going to compare Islam, but I know he's very strong as, that your family, if they don't become Mormon, does it mean they go to hell? In your mind, in your book?
No, not at all. In fact, my personalistic view. Now, look, if you go to somebody who is a member of the church, they might have a very different viewpoint. But I personally believe that God will judge us all. Yeah. And look, there are people who are not LDS, who are not members of the church, who are amazing, beautiful people. I know the mistakes that I make. Sometimes I think it's harder because when you're aware of the things that you're doing and you feel like you're sinning, that's when, you're like, oh, I'm going to be judged for this. Whereas there's a bliss to not knowing it, right? To being outside of it.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. But I think that, if you believe in God and you believe in Jesus Christ, you believe that Jesus Christ is very merciful and loving.
Yeah.
And all of us screw up and all of us make mistakes, and he's there to help
once
us
we have
overcome
good intention.
Good intention.
Can I say, as the only Catholic here on this podcast?
Wow, really? Joe's got to throw out that. Okay.
Sorry, no, you
tell us
Hang
about
on
how
a second,
Catholic
Jamie
you are.
over there. Can I get a little fucking virtual high five off you over there? Boom.
Do you know what David
What do you say?
Say it again, David. Say it loud.
You go on and preach to us about being the good Catholic
No,
over here.
listen.
Like,
we believe in Catholicism.
Our Father,
right?
come on, say the Our Father,
no,
Joe.
it's not even that. I will go through the Our Father if you want. I would.
Give us a couple of Hail Marys.
I'm not a practicing Catholic.
Father,
but let me
do
just
the Our
say,
Fata.
let me explain. If the two of you just pipe his
having a
little
great
religious
time.
heads down for a second, right? Now, what I'm trying to say is, that's what I was getting back to saying with Christians, right, or whatever, and with Muslims, or whatever. I believe is, and I'm not sure, I could be wrong on this. Like if everybody followed the 10 Commandments of what's in there, if everyone was to do the 10 Commandments, and we're supposed to be practicing, we're supposed to be going to church, and I know where church wasn't great with the priests or whatever, in a bad way. They did a lot of bad things, and there was a lot of, and that's where they fall out with faith, and a lot of people fell out with the faith of the Catholic Church over that. But I believe if they went like that, the 10 Commandments, and they had they don't stay with your neighbour, and whatever, don't rob from Paul's shop, or whatever. I don't know what
Timmy's now.
Timmy's, sorry. But like, what I think the problem was,
Showing your age.
so you know what I think the problem was with that, and we people fell out? It's called the Commandments. if it was called the suggestions for the recommendations,
Suggestion box.
if they went like the 10
Joe.
recommendations, we would always recommend you do this instead of you do this. It's
You don't
commandment.
command
It's
it.
bad.
So here's the thing: is you bring up an important point, which is because what I talked about earlier with those earlier books. So Moses was a prophet. Moses is a prophet that actually Islam believes in,
Really?
and
Yeah.
Judaism believes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those 10 commandments. So we go to Abraham. Abraham is one we kind of split, right?
Yeah.
So Abraham is where the
brothers.
religions. So but Moses came down with those 10 commandments, and those are actually. If you look at people who don't even have religion in their life, they're core moral values that people live by.
It's
So
true.
the idea that even
It's true.
people who do
Yeah.
not have religion
Yeah.
know that killing is a
Yes,
bad
of
thing.
course, there's 10
that
of them.
stealing is a
Yes,
bad thing.
100%, yeah.
You know, like it includes things like honor your mother and father. People in so many
Don't
different
covet your
cultures,
neighbour. What's
right?
covet?
Covet means to want, right?
Oh,
Covet your
don't
neighbor.
want your
Don't
neighbour.
even want them.
Don't want your neighbor's things, right? So don't want your neighbor's things and like that. But
That's
it's don't
hard
steal and
as Irish
don't
people.
lust after
Yeah.
other things. You
Yeah.
know, this idea of like wanting what other people. So that's what I think. One of the things with like social media is we sit there scrolling and we're looking at other people's lives, going,
Yeah.
"Oh, they have a great life,
And
don't they?" That's where
materialistic,
coveting, right?
right? Is
So we're
it?
sitting there, yeah.
So
that's
already
like
we're
sitting
coveting
there.
all the time,
So
sitting
we're sitting
scrolling,
there,
we're
like
coveting.
looking at other people, going, "Oh, like they're in
Oh, right.
Tenerife right now. Look at them. Oh, I wish
But
I
look
had
at
his
them.
life."
But the
Look at
Irish,
them.
no, but that's why the Irish are really good at that because we're begrudgers.
Yeah.
I hope your plane crashes. I hope
Oh,
the fuck.
stop
Hope it rains.
that.
It's terrible
They
your
do.
plane
I
crashes.
don't mean it that way, but they do.
What
I
you
hope it
mean
fucking
is, like,
rains.
I hope it rains, yeah,
rains.
like-
Well, some people Irish like to begrudge.
Now we know about
we
Joe.
do. We're begrudgers.
You know
Not me.
that when Joseph taps that like on your phone, he's actually sitting there going, "Screw you, you bastard, because you've got your bleed, hoping it rains on your holly
I don't
horse."
talk like
He's
that.
sitting there, saying, praying for rain. He's as a Catholic, he's lighting a candle for rain for
That's
you.
when I'm an Indian. We're doing the rain dance then.
Yeah, can you
we're
imagine
doing
him?
the
I
rain
can
dance.
imagine. It's like,
But like and the Mormons, right? So but isn't there is I use a splinter group and let me explain
What's
from the
that mean?
Mormons. So splinter is like split off, right? So the because there's the ones that originally they haven't got because first question everyone asks me, how many wives have you got?
6.
what?
Yeah, because Mormons can marry multiple wives. Yeah, it is.
Trust me, one's enough.
One's
for
enough.
anybody.
But
Yeah.
is that
anybody.
so?
No,
you know when you watch that program? Do you ever
The
see that program, Sister
Lives.
Wives?
Sister Wives. Oh, Sister
Would that
Wives.
be
yeah.
Mormon?
So that's actually a splinter.
That's
So-
what I'm saying.
so-
So they're the original ones
back-
now.
No.
Use a
we're-
splinter.
we're the originals.
So with a fundamental,
Yeah, fundamentalists.
they put the phone into the Mormon. They
So
6 months.
They split.
They put
And
the
so
phone into Mormonism.
when the Church of
Yeah.
Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so Mormon is the Book of Mormon, but that's a nickname for the church. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints did practice polygamy for a short period of time.
Polygamy is multiple
wives.
wives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
not-
back at the beginning of the church, and when the
Not
U.S.
multiple husbands.
No,
That's-
not multiple
'cause it's
husbands.
a male.
There was fewer men than women.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
And so,
right.
and look, you got to, and I'm not excusing anything in the
Mm.
history of the church, but you got to understand there was a time where in the Wild West, and this is when it was, like we're not thinking of America now.
No, but
we're
get
thinking when women had no rights, women couldn't vote,
Okay.
women couldn't own land,
Yeah.
women had the right to do nothing
Right.
without a man.
Okay.
So if a woman didn't have a husband, she had no rights. Then the U.S. came along and changed the laws and said polygamy is illegal,
Okay.
and the church said, now it's illegal. We're going to stop it.
okay.
And there were people who were living it that
And
said,
they
well, we
stayed.
We're
don't
not
want
gonna
to
stop
give
that,
this
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So they split
Of
away.
course, they didn't want to
Okay.
give that up.
And they still practice it. And it's kind of interesting because you can go to parts of the state of Utah and Arizona where there are communities where people still live that
like
way.
that.
And it's fascinating. And here's the thing, like today we have this idea of polyamory,
Yeah.
right? Which is that you can have multiple loves.
Yeah.
So you can have a person who has like 3 partners, 4 partners, and whatever
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
And
Triples.
it triples, and it might be
Popular
one
now.
guy with like 4
Yeah,
women.
yeah.
And we're like, actually I just saw a thing that said younger generations are cool with it.
Yeah.
Like people under 25,
Yeah.
a good portion of them are like, yeah, I don't
Gen-
care.
Gen
Do whatever.
X,
Gen
Gen Z.
Z.
Yeah, Gen Z. They're all good with that stuff.
You want you Gen Z?
Yeah, I'm Gen Z.
Weirdo.
Yeah,
Are you
see?
Gen Z?
Weirdo
He's
over
good with
there.
it. He's good with
He's
it.
on, he's over there just texting his 3 girlfriends.
Are
He'd be
you
lucky
good
to
with
get
that?
one. Look at him.
I mean, it wouldn't be for me, but I wouldn't care if someone else.
See, and
Yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah,
They-
yeah.
This generation is very different in that they try not to judge people
Yeah, they're
and how
very
they choose
open-minded
to
on that.
love.
Yeah.
We've seen it, right? So we've grown up where we've seen people struggle to get identity, struggle to get
That's right.
recognition and
Yeah.
equality and things like that in who they love. And I think that, it's important for us as a society to just respect people for who they are whether it's choices that they make in their life with religion, love, whatever it might be. To me, hate is the worst thing to have.
Jealousy.
It's even a horrible word, isn't it? Saying, I hate this person.
It's really bad. It's something I don't really use much. Hate, like it is a very strong word, you know.
When my kids come to me and they're like frustrated with somebody or whatever else, and they want to vent, and my statement in every time is leave them with love.
Yeah, love and light.
When somebody is upsetting you, if you leave them with love, you leave with better feelings in your heart. Because hard feeling hate. So this is my job, is conflict and dispute resolution, right? People come angry.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to live like that.
No.
Anger, we hold on to it, and it makes us unhealthy.
Yeah.
It makes us feel sick. It makes
Stress
us sad.
is the
I
biggest
was
killer.
literally just going to say the word anger, and I was only having a conversation with someone the other day about anger, and that when you're angry with someone, it's like, you could be angry with me and I don't even know. So I go off and live my life. But the anger is in you, and it's killing you, you know. Whereas I'm like out there doing my thing. Do you know? So it's very important that you don't hold that. You know, it really is.
And it does make you sick.
And this is where religion is a good piece of life.
True, that it is true that you're holding on to that anger.
And I think religion becomes really important in.
Did you just hit a vape sitting there with me, religious brother, the fucking most religious person we've ever had on here?
Please,
he doesn't judge.
You're good. Joe's judging. See that? Did you see how he immediately jumped to judgment?
You just hit a fucking vape.
I didn't call you out on anything, and Joe's like, "How dare you?"
She just went like this, as a man. Right, and would you?
You're such a little rat.
You were practically blowing fucking O's across the room.
Not that talented. Anyway, here's what I was going to say. You brought up such an important point. You talked about that feeling of hate.
David,
it was beautiful. And the thing is, I want to touch on this because we oftentimes have these feelings that nobody else knows and recognizes and understands. So I can be angry at you about something and you're off living your life. I'm the one that's sitting here in resentment and anger and frustration. And what we don't realize is that the other person doesn't know. Like they have no clue. They're off having fun, right? And we're holding on to these feelings, and we have to learn how to sometimes let go. Like it's a hard thing to let go of.
What was the thing we had said, and I heard it was Coach Ken actually said it as a post there the other day, and Sarah had said to me, it was like someone else expecting this of you. Like of you to carry on like this, and you're not even knowing, and like, what was the way you explained?
So here's the thing: unexpressed expectations lead to resentment. So if I have expectations of you, right? So if I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to come on this podcast, and this is how Joe and Sherin are going to, but I don't sit here and say to you, look, this is what I'm expecting. I'm going to feel let down every single time. So we have expectations of our kids. We have expectations of our parents. We have expectations of our partners. And if we don't sit and communicate those expectations, they'll never live up to them. And then we have this resentment. Why are you not? Why are you not doing these things?
So
because
true.
we fail to communicate that and say, hey, you know what? You and I are in a relationship, and this is what I'm expecting. And those expectations shift and grow as we shift and grow. With age, we change our expectations. But what we do then is we keep them in, and we're looking at the other person going, you're not doing this. You're not doing that. And you're failing to do these things. And then we just have this resentment and anger in ourselves.
Crazy, isn't it?
In this and the other person's like, why are you angry?
Why are you angry with me all the time?
Why are you so upset with me? And it's because we failed to explain to them. And sometimes we express them or share them after a certain moment, and they're not able to
comprehend it. You're not going to get your head around it. So where did that come from?
And that's why communication is key in any relationship, between children, parents, partners, mothers, fathers. It's so important to communicate, but it can be hard.
Do you know what? Communicating honestly is the toughest thing, right? But the thing is that you have to be in a right space. So don't communicate when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're unhappy about something, because those feelings. And I'll give you an insider tip, right, in communication and dispute resolution. Don't share feelings through a text, right? There's a great, do you know Key and Peele, those two comedians, right? They're two...
the TV personalities, the two guys that were on like a Disney program.
Oh, yeah.
Keenan, no, they're not Disney.
No.
They're actually, they're comedians.
They're
Keenan and
comedians.
Peele, they do all these sketches.
I know Keenan,
Brilliant.
Key and Peele. So they have this, and it's they're two of them, right? They're in different houses, and one's texting the other, and the one's like up and about. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, hey, I'll be there shortly. And the other guy gets the text, and he's like, You're going to be there shortly. I think you should be on time. And so one keeps reading the texts from a viewpoint of I'm angry. So and the other one's like, chill out. The other one's like, chill out. And he's like, chill out. So, what we do is we send these texts. I did a case one time, right, a mediation, and it was a landlord-tenant. And the tenant had moved out and said, can I have my deposit back and stuff like that? And the landlord was like, no. When you moved out, there were holes in the wall. And the tenant's like, holes in the wall? I didn't put holes in the wall. And landlord Lisa's like, there were holes all over the family room. The wall was covered in holes. Tenant's like, are you kidding me? So they got so angry that the tenant sued the landlady to get her money back, right? So they come in and they're sitting there, and the landlady's like, there were holes in the wall. And tenant's like, and they'd only communicated through text. And I'm sitting there listening with them. I said, let's stop for a second. Can you describe what did the holes look like? And the landlady goes, yeah, well, there were all these little nail holes, because you know how like Oprah used to do this thing where you'd put picture frames, a wall of picture frames, right? And the tenant goes, well, yeah, I had my gallery wall above the sofa. And we'd put all the nails. And the landlady was like, yeah, every one of those had to be patched. So then we had to repaint them. And the tenant was like, I thought you meant we'd taken a hammer to the wall.
Hammer to the wall, yeah.
So she heard holes in the wall.
She could have explained and said, we simply put nails.
We failed to stop and ask the questions. We failed to stop and say, what do you mean by that? Because we take what we want from it. We hear holes in the wall and we automatically go to defensive. How dare you? And we get angry and we retaliate. Instead of kind of going, wait, hang on a second. What do you mean by holes in the wall? And if she'd asked that one simple question, the landlady would have said, oh, here, because nails. And she'd have been like, oh, you're right,
and they would have saved themselves thousands, because it cost them money to, as soon as you hire a lawyer, that's
time, money, all of the things, all the stress of the back and forth.
It's always like, you send a message, even if you're asking a question, and then you're like, oh, that didn't sound
it could read,
that comes across
completely
and then,
wrong.
So then you'll go and send, instead of just ringing and saying, come here, I didn't mean that, I meant this. You say, come here now, I didn't mean that, I meant this. And you're like, that sounds even worse.
That's why I voice now.
Texting. Joe's famous for the voice.
I voice now. But so do you. And I prefer it even to listen to voice now and voice now back the whole time, rather than I find it exceed that.
It'd be like Joe, it'd be like Sherin.
And I'm massively, even with my texts, I'm a huge emojis. I'm emojis.
Trying to put emotion into it.
Like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Joe's all about the emojis.
I'm full of emotions. But even when I'm writing the text, I make the emoji face as I'm texting. I do go.
Which is a funny one when you think about the poo emoji. When you think about Joe sending the poo emoji, he's sitting there on.
I think that's...
No, but it is, isn't it? Like joke, but actually, don't forget it's 6 o'clock tonight on a text, and I'd be like, fuck her. I know it's 6 o'clock. But if you was to voice now, you'd be like, Sherin, don't forget to like guys band.
It's tone, it's eyes. All of those things go into how we communicate. It's not just the words.
So maybe with more communication, less mediation.
If there was more communication, there would be a lot less media, and I'd be fine with that. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. Have you seen people?
100%, without a doubt. Everyone's
human beings?
People are so uptight and strong, and it gets you loads of work. But they're going back to teaching.
Yeah.
So then because you like, this is the gas thing with my ma be like, I go and visit my ma and she'd be like, yeah, David was saying something blah blah blah, and I goes, oh, was on the phone. She goes, no, he was here the other day, right? And I'd be like, why was here the other day? Like he's there. So what's he doing now?
I see our mother more than he does,
because he flies,
and I live in California,
and he goes to live a bit.
Would you come back?
So I come back like maybe 3 times a year. So this week I was at the Law Society in town, so I went in. So I was in there and kind of did some training with the students. And I come home, what happened was I started coming home, this is the week of my dad's birthday. And many years ago, before he passed, I came home. And I liked coming home early in December. Dublin, it's wet, it's cold. Every time I say to people I live in California, they're like, oh, I'd love the sunshine. But it gets to be a bit much when you're a ginger. When you're a freckly ginger, living in California, you can't go outside. I need a massive hat on me, to walk around.
And some yogurt.
Yeah. Constantly like that.
Yeah, just covered. But so I started coming home, and then my friends at the Law Society said, come in and do some training. But so I teach classes at Pepperdine. It's a law school in Malibu. And so I drive up there and teach classes. Yeah, so,
sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's actually Malibu's lovely. It is.
Well, all around where you live is lovely. We're
What
just
did you
like,
think of California?
so I love it. I absolutely love California. I love the people. I love all. By the way, Mormons. I love
Is
just
it-
because
is-
I've always around Mormons when I'm in it.
all my
and
wife's
it's-
family.
No, I love them. They're so fucking nice. You couldn't meet a nicer.
Would it be a very
people.
big community of
Yeah,
Mormon in
super
California?
In Southern
nice.
California, in California.
Yeah, they're
so the
super
Western
nice.
states has
Which
a
is,
big
but the thing
population.
blow me away. I'm sorry. Come on.
Are you in the California or are you in California? Oh, same song.
So it's California. You're thinking of the
California.
yeah, so you know like
is it that
what's in the
vibe?
Beach Boys,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah.
So that's a
So,
California song,
yeah.
and then Mamas and Papas, that's in California.
And then
so
there's
California.
Tupac.
And then there's Tupac. So he did one time I was over there and I was going somewhere and I was like, and I was sat off and I was like, oh my god, I'm lost. And I said, I was sort of somewhere, where there? And I said, I think it says Inglewood. And he was like, just keep going. It's somewhere. And I was like, whoa, what's going on?
Is there areas like that,
Oh,
like
it's
West
like-
Side,
it's
East
nuts.
Side?
Oh, yeah,
you can pull up
yeah,
into the
yeah.
garage
So,
in
like-
the petrol station and it's nuts, like it's like
So
you're in a
so
movie.
We're
You're literally in a movie.
we're down in the
He lives there
Newport,
2 minutes
Laguna
from
Beach
Laguna.
area.
There's a
Like-
TV program years ago. It was called Laguna. Was it called
Laguna Beach, yeah.
And it was like it's all like the massive houses, swimming pools,
All
the whole
that, and
lot.
that's
It's
so.
like,
My
that's-
son, my
is-
18-year-old, that's who he hangs out with. He's down in Laguna, and he's a
Surfer.
surfer. So
Right.
Ash, so that's his PE, Shireen.
That's for
right?
the school.
So
They go
his school
surfing.
Is PE, so
They go surfing.
3 days a week. He doesn't go and put on a pair of shorts and run around a field. He takes his surfboard down and meets at the beach Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings
why
and
was I born?
It's
surfs for
nuts.
PE. It's
really bizarre.
ridiculous.
It's for someone from growing up at Tala and all that, it's going to visit him and just driving along and just watching him out on the beach and the weather's gorgeous and everything else. And people are super friendly. Even when you're just going in for a coffee, you say, "Hello, sir. How are you today? I hope you're having a good day." But then after about you're coming to the end of the 2 weeks, it's, don't fucking tell me to have a nice day. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no.
It's
I know
very,
it now.
Well, have a bad
very
day. I
Going
want
back to
it.
the way I was.
very
It's-
driven by
it's
customer
very-
service
Right.
and
Yeah.
being happy. And
It's
Southern
super
California
nice.
is very sunny and everybody's very
Mm-hmm.
happy and everybody's
it
had a lot
sounds
of work
dreamy.
done.
It's lovely. It really is nice. So, and I love,
That's one of my bucket lists
I
now.
love
That's
going
gonna
over
have to
to
go on
visit.
the bucket list.
Yeah.
Have you ever done? I'm sure Dave, it'll be a
California is a
yeah.
great place. So down where we are, Los Angeles is fun. San Diego is beautiful.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
great places to visit over there.
But, so it's not the Tupac
So
California.
No,
there
he-
is So that's about an hour away from where we
Right.
live. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it's not real danger zones or anything. If you're
Oh, no.
community
He lives.
No.
It's like
No.
it's what you'd see him like. It looks like Beverly Hills.
Right.
Like it's massive,
not
big
that nice.
houses. It's
It's not
beautiful.
that nice.
Listen,
You know what I mean?
if you're seeing the place where it is because it's Orange County and it's Laguna Beach
it's
and
Orange
Daytona
County.
Point
Yeah,
and
So
it's quite. It's
we live
very
about 20
affluent.
minutes from Disneyland.
Listen, the family or Mormons in general do become they're quite wealthy. It's a wealthy, aren't you? It is.
Done all right for myself, love.
Well, but even yourself, but your wife's family's huge. Like that.
It's so.
good.
It's when we talk more.
His father-in-law has a fucking houseboat. He's a hangar. And we went up to the house, and just without saying it was great. We went up to it on Thanksgiving, and we're sitting there, and he goes, "Do you want to see my cars?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we jumped into his truck or his Corvette or something. He was driving down, and he pressed a button, and it's a fucking into an
Airplane hangar.
Airplane hangar. This door just opens. It's about
Wow.
8 houses long, and it just goes and flows up, and he's just all these cars and boats and fucking that.
Like, that's
super,
another
they're super
world
rich,
to us.
super
That's
rich.
another world.
It blows your
We're
mind.
not, but what I will say is that it is a very different world. So, one thing that I think that Joe's trying to explain is that in the church, we're encouraged to be industrious, to work hard. So, like I said, I went when I was 27 and got a bachelor's degree, then got my doctorate, then got my master's. And I'm not saying all this to be like, look at all, but
No,
I
it's
just,
great.
I knew I
It's
wanted to go to school. I wanted to
100%
accomplish
amazing.
things.
Yeah.
So, we're encouraged to work hard, to support our families, to be self-sufficient, to be
Yeah.
self-sustaining.
Which is the way it
And
should be.
It's the way it should
Yeah.
be. But, it's not, I think that, like, growing up, like, my dad, there weren't work opportunities here in the 70s
worked hard
and into the
still.
80s. He found every opportunity to work and work hard. Like my dad went out and did everything he could to support our family.
Yeah.
And, it's just that at that time, like it was funny because I was just up with my mother and we were talking about
He means me ma. When he says mother, he means my
the
ma.
easy. I don't know if you remember the EC butter and the EC meat, and so we called it easy butter. And so the European community would
free butter
look. Then you were
Right.
probably posh.
Butter
Butter vouchers. So
yeah.
that's what
Used
it
to rub
was.
them on
So
me, ma.
butter vouchers. So the butter vouchers. So the EC, the European, when it was just called the European community, would send meat and butter and things like that to Ireland for us, like
Right.
people in,
You
like
get
'cause
tins of corned beef and all
you
that,
get like
and
things.
cheese.
So that we
Actually,
had
like
because they had
corned beef.
surplus, and so they
Yeah,
would send it to the
that's right.
poorest countries, and
Right.
that was
We
us,
were
you know.
one of us, yeah, in the
And so
80s.
that's how, in the 70s and 80s, you know, that's how we grew up. Like I remember going to the Vinnie de Paul for vouchers so that we could get school shoes and,
people
uniforms
still
and
do.
things like that. Yeah.
And that's
no,
okay.
it's
Yeah,
huge
it's
now.
huge now.
Unfortunately, in 2025, and how rich we are as a country,
as a country.
this country is so. It's like
Yeah.
the difference between rich and poor is mental, and there's over whatever. Without going into it, there's over 5,000 homeless children
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this accommodation.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. I was
So
been through the
thank
system.
God for the St. Vincent de Paul right
no,
now,
without
you
them,
know?
and
Yeah.
even all the other,
I was grateful for the
Peter
St. Paul as a
Peter
child.
McFreddy and all them ones that help, and Simon Community, and they help, they reach out, and it's amazing that they're there to help, but they shouldn't be there to help. They shouldn't have to.
shouldn't have
And
to.
we're great for donating as
It
well.
used to be like, remember years ago, it'd
it's
be
a
like,
shitty fucking
Uncle
country
Vinny
at
and Auntie
times.
Paul,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
shitty country
Yeah.
at times.
But-
Yeah, really look into
The fact that, and that's the thing that to bring it back to religion, like that's what faith does, is it encourages people to step up. Like, for me as a child, I remember walking to school and my shoes, like the sole of my shoe was off and it was raining, and I sitting in class feeling like shame because I could smell my socks, they were so wet and damp,
Yeah.
But things like the St. Vincent de Paul, having them come in and give us like shoes and things like that.
Did you go
that-
to the Sunshine House?
I did, yeah.
Did you? I never went to
Went
Fucking
to
hell.
the
Well, I was,
Sunshine House,
see, because David's about 10 years older than me, so by
I'm
the
not
time
that much older. I'm 6 years older
Is
than you
it?
love.
You look it.
I look it, please.
So he's about 10 years older than me. So he had a different childhood than I did. So he was poor. And then when we
Joe
came
was,
around,
Joe was what we called like
I was
Tala rich
sort
by the
of
time.
rich
You know.
by the time we had. So we was
We
all,
didn't
we was
have
all
much
right.
ever, but,
and they were
you know.
poor. And my Jamie, older sister, and the rest was all sort of all right. You know what I mean? And that's why we.
But we got to go to the Sunshine House.
So you got to go to the fucking
The full
free.
place, the
So if
free.
anyone doesn't know, the Sunshine House
It's in
was
Balbriggan,
was,
is it?
was a
Balbriggan.
county council corporation. If you didn't get to go on holidays,
You got to go
brought there. The
Balbriggan.
kids were
Yeah.
brought away, and it was like you got nicknames like Rusty Bunk and fucking. Because the kids out there to be pissing the beds,
I don't know.
I know them, and then Krusty Bunk if you shit the bed. There's different names. For the, yeah, that's what. And then remember the county council classes. I know the few fellas that were a couple of years older than me that went, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds horrific.
Sounds
You know what?
fun.
Here's the
It
thing.
sounds horrific. Mosley was rapid.
Mosley was great.
but
Mosley was rapid.
Yeah,
Mosley
Butlins was where we would go
Yeah.
on holiday.
Mosley was so, and just without going, we circling too much into the yoke.
The Amish community, is it the same as Mormon? Sorry, I've been dying to
Oh,
say that.
miles
Sorry.
away.
Very, very different. So
Miles
the
away.
Amish,
Sorry, I have
as they
to
would
ask.
call them
Oh,
in
yeah.
America, they live a very unique lifestyle because they don't believe in things like electricity. So they kind of stop.
don't use
So they
cars?
don't use. They don't use phones and cars.
Oh,
so they
wow.
get
Or
around by horse
electricity.
and buggies and stuff like that.
So it's like they like to live like off the land nearly.
So they,
like
so they do
peasants.
live off the
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
They're a farming community. They typically stop going to school at about 14, 15, so the boys can start working, and they do a lot of construction and farm work and things. And I'm not an expert on the Amish community. It's just what I've seen.
That's
So
mad.
they-
I always connected them to
Yeah,
Mormon.
no,
So
no,
they're
it's a
the
part
guys
of it.
got-
Vastly
They
different,
listen,
yeah.
and you see the way the
the
Mormons live.
Amish almost, it was like life in the mid 1800s,
Yeah.
and they kind of stopped and said, this is perfect. This
Yeah.
is where we are.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what we should do. And this is going to create discipline.
The Mormons are completely different. They're just like
We are
It
very
sounds
different.
great.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a
I
way of
would
life. and we-
join the Mormons only for they wouldn't allow. I don't think they're allowed to swear.
Are you not allowed to swear, drink, all
Don't
that
swear,
stuff?
drink,
Yeah.
tea, coffee, alcohol, tobacco. So here's the thing: is there's something called the word of wisdom that we live by, right? And what people do is they focus on the things that we're not supposed to do, right? All the things we're supposed to do is eat healthy, live good lifestyles, drink plenty of water, things like that. But there are certain guidelines. So don't drink alcohol. Don't. And the funny thing is like I stopped drinking. I didn't drink as a teenager.
you wouldn't have been a drinker.
I wasn't a drinker at all, and I stopped drinking before I even met people from the church because I just didn't like how it made me feel. Yeah. And so, I was always one of those kids that I always believed that if I ever tried drugs, I'd be the guy living under a bridge going, give me a $5 or mister. I just assumed that I would go straight down. Like the minute I'd like look at drugs, I'd be like sitting there kind of going, help us. And so that was my feeling about it. But as in the church, we live this kind of health lifestyle, which is no alcohol, no tobacco.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a great
life.
Which
science now has said these things are not good for us, right? They're not healthy for us because they can impact us like alcohol with Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that.
It's one of the worst drugs out there, I think, alcohol, isn't it?
It's really.
Well, the thing is because it's so socially acceptable, we do it, but we don't sometimes know our limit, and you end up.
So without going on the subjects of Mormons, which I know loads, I know we is throughout you and we have family Mormons, haven't we? We have cousins and auntie and uncles that are Mormons already in the Mormon.
So you've got that leverage.
We have an auntie and uncle, and we've always loved how they carried on themselves, and even whatever.
We love them.
But there's a program that came out a while ago.
The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
It's not very secret, is it?
No,
Did you see them?
I've never watched it.
Want to see this program?
So it's like the Real Housewives kind of thing, but what it is it's this group of young women that live in Salt Lake in Utah,
which is mainly the Mormon
headquarters of the church. And so they had a TikTok, and they would dance and stuff like this. And then one of them, there was actually a scandal about some soft swinging that was going on between them, that they were doing these things.
They don't seem very Mormonish.
And so then because that came out in the news, then they were offered the opportunity to do a reality TV show.
Right. Yeah.
Reality TV show is like the three of us are sitting here and we're friends. But what happens is then I've got to come in and create drama and sit there and be like, Joe, the state, and then throw a glass at him, right? And everybody's like, oh, David and Joe are fighting.
Otherwise, it's boring to watch.
Otherwise, nobody would watch Joe and I day to day, right?
But you need to watch it. I'm going to watch it. What happened was, I'll just tell you what happened. There was like, Joe's come in. Sarah was watching that, and she was like, what are you watching? She goes, because she knows because Mormon, so she's like you, loads of questions, right? And I'm like, and she goes, I'm just watching this Secret Life of Mormon Wives. She goes, I'll turn it off and maybe put something else. And I said, no, I'll really watch the end of it. And then she's watching, so I'm watching that. And then she fell asleep, and I ended up watching 3 or 4 episodes on my own. I woke up and I was like, you won't believe what you want to
want to watch those episodes.
Now, your woman, and I'd reefer.
I was feeling hard in it, but the more we watched the next season and all, and the carry on them is nuts.
I've never watched it.
They would put some of them, I was going to say there were Secret Lives of, but there's not that many wives, is there? No, that's wrong to say. I'll get battered for that. We should do a program. I'd love to do a program of the unmarried mothers of Malahide. That'd be a good program.
Would there be many?
Of course, no, but and imagine how needy and want to. Where's my secret? Where's my fucking maintenance money?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you before you get cancelled.
Sorry. That's only. I'm only having banter. We're slagging Malahide. Everyone's up for the slagging. Everyone's up for the slagging. It is, and that's all I was saying. If you get a chance, watch the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
I'm going to watch that.
You won't be disappointed.
I don't know why he's plugging this.
Fucking watch it. I'm telling you, it's very good. So do you know what else was what? And I was saying about you did traveling around doing a bit. You were in Ukraine.
I was in Ukraine 2 years ago, just 2 years ago. So after the war broke out, and I'd been there a couple of times before that for work, teaching mediation and dispute resolution. So when the war broke out, like a lot of people, I was like, what can I do? Like, I'm an old fat man, right? So it's not like I can go over there and they want me to help fight the war or anything. Nobody needs my help fighting anything, right?
With his book, which is not all just put your guns down, guys.
There you go.
Come on.
Is that what you did?
That's like, so what I did was, I was mocking me, but what I actually did was I contacted some friends at the university, at the law school there, and I paid for myself. I flew actually to Poland, and then I had to take a train. It was like a 14-hour train ride from Warsaw into Kiev. And then I spent a week in Kiev teaching at this university. And the very first day of class, and I walked in, and I'd been teaching online for a couple of weeks, and these students are all like 19, 20. The most amazing group of kids you'll ever meet. And their lives have been disrupted in such a major way. And so you could see kind of the effects of the bombing and everything else.
Yeah.
So I get there for my first class, and we had decided if the bombing kicked off again, we would stay online, but it didn't. So I flew in. First day, and I walk into the room, and they come in and they're putting their bags down, and then all of a sudden they start picking their bags up and heading towards the door. And I was like, what's going on? And they were getting alerts on their phones to say that the MiGs and the planes were coming in and possibly dropping bombs. So we had to go to the bomb shelter. So they walked me all the way through this school down into the basement, into this little concrete room.
To the bomb
there's
shelter.
A couple of bomb shelter. They had a bomb shelter. Everywhere there's bomb shelters. And so we're down in this bomb shelter, and I walked in, and I was all like, I'm going to go to Ukraine. I'd been there and it's going to be fine. And suddenly I found myself in a bomb shelter, day one, in a war zone. And I thought, and I had about 20 kids. And I stood there and I looked at them and I thought, the only thing, I was here to teach. And the thing that I can do is teach. And so I said, okay, let's have our first lesson. And they huddled around, and I taught a lesson about conflict and dispute resolution in that moment. And I spent the week there with them. And can I just say, I encountered such kindness from the people there. Yeah. Like, they went out of their way. Like, when they found out that I traveled from America to come and teach their students during the war, people embraced me in such an amazing way. Nice. And I felt so grateful for, the opportunity to be there.
So humbling.
It was unbelievable.
When you were... There's a war going on outside, and you're like, well, we're not going to waste any time. Yeah. We're going to make use of this bunker. And
this
we're going
space.
That's amazing.
And to teach them, because we could have sat there and huddled and been nervous and anxious and cried. Yeah. And what I thought I'd do is focus them, and it focused
that's just
me.
Amazing.
So it focused me to be able to stand there. And I want to share one story.
I was nuts when I heard you were in the Ukraine. I was like, does he not know where's he going next?
Yeah.
Fucking Gaza.
And were you worried here about him? Did you think, what if something happened?
I just kind of went and did it. But I'd like to share one quick story. When I was coming back, so the morning I was coming back, and my train was leaving at 6:30 in the morning. And so, I didn't realize, but because the airports are all closed, the train station is the only way in and out. And so they had all the security stuff, you have to put your bag through and everything else. And I got there with like about 5 minutes to spare. And I run up, and this woman looks at me and she says, the train. And that was the only word that she said to me. And we skipped the line and we got all the way in. And my plan was to, because it was a 14-hour train ride, buy some food and everything else at the train station. Raced, legged it, got onto the train, jumped on. And I was in a little, compartment with 2 beds, and on the way in I had it to myself, but I get in there and there's a young woman and she's asleep on the compartment. The train takes off, so eventually she wakes up and we started chatting. She's 25, her name was Vera, and we talk, and I said to her, can you help me, because I don't have any food for the train ride. It's not like I'm going to starve to death, but maybe we can find. So she gets up and goes and communicates for me with the train conductor, because he didn't speak English. She finds out there's no food, so I'm like, no worries. So I come back and I'm sitting there, and she got off and went off to talk. She had 2 colleagues that she was traveling with. About 30 minutes later, these 3, Vera and her 2 colleagues, come in, and they sit down and they start opening up their bags of food. And they put together food for me. So these people are in the middle of a war. Their rights have been taken away from them. And they started, these 3 women put together a sandwich for me. They gave me their water. They shared their water with me. They showed kindness to a stranger in a way that I wouldn't have anticipated, for people who are a bit under attack. Yeah. And I will never forget that kindness. So nice.
I love hearing that story, because similar stuff happens in Egypt, and people have such a wrong perception of Egyptians, and, whatever. Look, there's fundamentalist terrorists that are everywhere now. But not like we go to Egypt. I was in the middle of the turnover of Mubarak.
Okay.
So we landed the next day. There was a war right outside my dad's door.
That's nuts.
It was in 2023. I had my youngest son with me. 2012, 2013. And woke up the next morning and there was riots going on. Like, I was terrified. And to make it worse, my eldest son, Sonny, got really sick with his asthma. Well, it was his... Egypt is very pollution, so he couldn't breathe. And I remember me dad, like Mormons, like Muslims, strong religious people, they don't fear death too much. It's like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. This is God's way, For me, I'm like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to die, and that's it. But there was petrol bombs, there was people walking around with guns, body crack, everything. My brother was loving it. I was like, I just want to go home.
Just like Jobstown.
That's great.
Right at home.
So I remember we had to get from Cairo, the house, to the hospital, which wasn't any better. Like, it's all very poverty stricken, So we're going through, and of course I've blonde hair.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of Egypt, and I'm like, I'm going to be killed. My dad's walking around me. On my face, I'm holding Sonny's face, scarves on. I'm dressed up in a carpet, everything. So hiding, walking down the street, bombs flying everywhere. It was mental, right? I'm just like that with Sonny. All I cared about was Sonny. He couldn't breathe. Gets to the hospital, had to go back. Goes back, my dad's like, gonna be fine. Just stay in the house. Just keep the head down from the window. Like it was. I'm talking about the way you were in a bunker. I felt like I was locked in a bunker. Sonny gets sick again.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh no, don't, like another nebulizer. Like I have to go hospital. It's mad what you do for your children. Walk through a war zone. Adam again, he's loving it. Let's go.
Did all you go over? You and your sister?
Me, Adam, Sonny.
Right.
We were there to visit my dad and just broke out. It was a turnover of Mubarak. They wanted him out.
Wow.
So the president. So you can imagine, you know, an Arabs fight, they fight. You know, there's no, because no one cares about dying.
Right.
It's like if I die, I die.
And you all got out safely.
Like the Vikings.
Well, I ended up,
you believe if you die, shortly you're gone.
That's it, you're gone. I ended up going back to the hospital. We got back to the house. I was just terrified. I was like, Dad, I have to get out of here. Plus, I was worried that Sonny, the hospital wasn't working. Sonny kept getting sick.
Treatment.
So I was like, Adam, we're going to go home. He was like, no, you're going home.
Yeah.
Sonny, I'm staying.
Yeah. What?
I was like, what are you doing? He was like, Sherin, this is mental. Like, they're turning over the president. Like, let's see what happens. He said for another 10 days.
What?
I went home with Sonny. Sonny couldn't breathe on the plane, but it was, I'm just saying, it's not a great situation to be in.
It's not.
So for you to get teaching is very humbling and really powerful.
Yeah. It, you know, like I said, there's not much that I can do. And so I think relying on your skills, you know, so for example, right? So Joe has a gift for humor, for comedy, for connecting with people, right? And so I always feel that, and I say to kids when I teach them, lean into your strengths because that will make a difference for you and the people that you work with. Yeah. If you recognize what you do well in life, and I think for me, I've discovered that I like teaching. I enjoy teaching. I feel I'm a good teacher in the classroom situations. And so that created that calm for me, and I think it created the calm for them. The
students.
And for the students in that moment. You know, it was really a wake-up moment where I kind of thought, you know, I'm a dad, I've got 4 kids. What am I doing? I kind of went, I had a moment where I went, what am I doing here? What was this decision? But I loved it, and I was very grateful for it, and it was a real education moment for me.
And wasn't Nicole and all? Sorry, I never got to ask you. What was Nicole? Was she not going?
You know, here's the thing is, so I'm very, very fortunate because my wife 100% supports me in everything I want to do. So, for example, Joe said I come home quite frequently. You know, we live an hour away from her parents, as Joe said. When he comes over, he hangs out with her family. So she recognizes and understands the importance for me to come home and connect with my family, to be here, part of my culture. So I'm very, very fortunate. Now, I got back and all of her friends were like, what? And she was like, oh, I didn't even think about war, you know, because we're so far removed from war. Now, you've had that experience, so you know war. So if somebody says to you there's a war going on, you can connect it. Very few people in the world have the privileged first world, and the first world that we live on. See it on the news.
You see bombs everywhere, but you don't get stuck in the middle of it.
We live on a small island, and there is a portion of our island where people know about war. We're very privileged down here in Dublin because we have been so not touched in so many ways the way other people on this island have. And so I think that's the thing is like once you've experienced it, then you're like, okay, that's now I know what this is, you know.
And sorry, because I kind of went back on myself when I said people have the wrong perception of Egyptians. I actually gave the wrong perception of Egyptians. What I was trying to say is going back to when you were saying they opened up their bag to the food. If you visit Egypt, and it's the God's honest truth, the Egyptians will roll out a mat for you and go into their house with they've nothing. They've nothing to give you because it's very poverty stricken, and they'll come out with the best food they have, and they will make sure you eat before they do, and they will like beg you to come into their homes. And that's the God's. That's not me just saying.
It gives you good beliefs in humanity, doesn't it? When it's into that situations
that's
like that,
the core value,
and that's what reminded me.
Of you saying
regardless of what your upbringing is.
No matter what your religion, no matter what your culture, you will find it
where you're from.
Especially when you're a guest, when you're a visitor, it's so important to them. And it's not about, like you said, trying to change the religion. No, it's like let us feed you.
Let us bless you, because it's a blessing for me to feed you. and that's how they feel.
Yeah.
Like coming back to this idea of like Islam, Judaism, Christianity, whatever it might be, really at the core of all those and people who don't even have a belief system is this idea that it makes me feel good. There's an endorphin hit. There's a contact high that comes from loving and serving other people, like doing nice things for people.
Yeah.
So when we do those good things for other people, we feel it in a significant way. So religion can encourage us to do those things, but I think people find ways to do it themselves.
Anyways. So it's the same thing about there's no such thing as a selfless act. Because you're doing something kind for someone, but reality is you're getting this as it makes you feel good. So it's not a selfless act. You're doing it to make yourself feel good.
Yeah, it's like what comes out goes in.
But it's still a good thing to do. But there's that little
especially when you come from nothing, when you have nothing to give, but you give everything, is massive. You know?
And I think that's amazing way, and humanity is such a good thing, and then it's ups and downs and shit, and poverty, wars, and all that, and different religions and all types, and without going
very interesting.
It's great to have you on, David. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you both for having me.
You've been amazing. You have a big insight into all the background of the religion and all. And can we get a round of applause? My co-host here, Sherin, Hughes, as usual, smashing the shit out of it. And then we have our step-in producer over there, Jamie, doing the smashing the shit over. And then we just, hang on, we have to do it. Lambs, this is Lambs, David. You have to do the finger like that. That's what the youngest, they go, Lambs.
Do you know what my son told me, Joe? He's watching us yet, and he's like, you don't do it right. He's a yuck bro. You know, my young flat's a yuck bro.
Now, should we go this way?
Yeah, it's like up.
It's up,
you don't do that.
Yeah, okay. I never do that.
Well,
I'm always doing that.
Yeah,
we don't
but you see, he's pointing on the logo. He's pointing this way.
He's like, he's just not the bros. He's not pointing. Anyways, so lambs, active lambs. Give it up for actives. Lambs, delicious food.
And give it up for
Joe
Irish.
Joe Dowling, Joe Irish. Thank you. That's a wrap. See you next week.
Thank you.